Welcome to the IgnitePOST post-purchase setup flow demo. What I want to do right now is take a minute to walk you through the post-purchase setup that you can do with IgnitePOST on our Shopify app. Now, first of all, what do I mean by post-purchase setup? Essentially, what this flow lets you do is trigger a real robotically handwritten letter every single time a customer makes a purchase on your shop. I'll go into some details and best practices about how to actually set up this flow, and then as well go through the various advanced settings that let you specify specifically when and to whom these letters should actually be sent. So with that, let's dive into it. So if you're on this screen, you got here from our main Shopify app, and the first thing that you want to do when you set up a post-purchase flow is to give it a name, something familiar so that you can remember what you're doing here. So as an example, let's say that anytime somebody makes a purchase on our site, we want to follow up with a handwritten note asking them to come back and leave us a review. So what we'll do is we'll name this the post-purchase flow review request. Okay, now what we want to do is set up some details about the actual note that we're going to send. So the first thing that we're going to do is specify the sender address. So this is our return address. If you are a business, you can specify your business address, or you can leave this blank. This is going to be written in the return address area of the envelope, on the outside of the envelope. So you can specify this to be anything you want. I'm just going to have it come from myself. There we go. Perfect. Next, we want to choose the mailing address. So where do we want to send this to? Do we want to send this to a shipping address, a billing address? So what I typically like to do is leave it on this first option here, where we're choosing to send it to the shipping address, because typically that's who you're sending your product to, and you want that person to have a great experience, but then also come back and leave a review. We give you a couple options here. So one, to either send to the shipping address, and if that's not available, then use the billing address. Your second option is to just use the billing address outright, and if that's not available, then default and use the shipping address. Or you also have the options to either exclusively only use either the shipping or billing address, even if the other one is there as an available backup. So what I'd like to do in terms of best practices is to leave it on the first option here, because we're going to target people who have actually received my product, and if I don't have a shipping address, then I want it to default to the address that I do have, which should be the billing. Next, we actually want to write what the handwritten note that we're going to send is going to say. So here, this is just a boilerplate template that we have. Hi, just wanted to reach out and thank you for giving our shop a try. Hope you enjoy the products. If you have a few minutes, it would mean the world to come back and write us a quick review. So a couple of things that we want to do here. The first thing that I would suggest doing is personalizing this. So instead of just saying hi, we can actually personalize this with the person's name. So if you come down here where it says options, we can actually insert some variables. So I'm going to insert first name, and this will pull the first name of the person that just made the purchase into this variable in your letter. So now you're saying, hi, first name, just wanted to reach out and say thanks for giving our shop a try, etc., etc. The next thing I want to do is actually sign it. So store owner. Perfect. So now we've done two things. We've personalized this with the person's name that actually just made the purchase. We also signed the note so that the purchaser knows who it came from. And then the last thing that's a best practice to do is to actually give them a call to action. So if you're asking them to write us a quick review, leave a link in here for what that review should be. So, example.com/review. And that's it. Another best practice is actually to use the image that's going to be on the front of the card. So keep in mind, all of these cards are a 5x7 folded card, so you can use the image on the front to convey messaging. We give you a couple default options here, so I just chose the default thank you card, but you can also upload your own image. So if you have an image with a specific QR code or a specific link or a specific code that you want someone to use when they come back to your shop or take your call to action, this is a great place to really reinforce what you want someone to do. And then you can even use your message itself to reference the front of the card call to action. So just a couple of ideas and tips and tricks. So far what we've done is we've typed out our message, we've personalized it with some specific variables. Before we move on, you also have the option of choosing some additional handwriting styles. So depending on if you want something that's relatively neat handwriting or less neat, it really just depends on what your style is. So I'm going to choose this style because this is very similar to how I write. If you do want us to use your own handwriting, we actually can do that. So reach out to our support team and we'd be happy to tell you all the details about how we can actually mimic your own handwriting. So now I've got my message typed out, it's personalized, I know what image is going to go in the front of the card. So let's actually walk through the advanced settings and I'll talk you through exactly what these things are going to be doing. So the first thing in the advanced setting is the option to only send a card to a customer once. So anytime somebody makes a purchase on your site, obviously you don't want to be continually writing them handwritten cards. So by checking this box, this says that for every unique person that makes a purchase on your site, they are at most only going to get a card once. The second option, check this option if you want to send a card after a customer has made X number of purchases. So let's say that you are asking people for a review. Maybe you only want to send a card to someone after they have made at least 2 purchases from your site, with the idea that if they've come back and repurchased, then they typically like you, and that would be a great time to ask for a review or maybe even a referral. So as an example, let's say I change this to 2. So now this flow would only get triggered when a customer has made at least 2 purchases on the site. This next option, only send a card if the order value is greater than X. So let's say that I only wanted to target a very specific segment of users that have made a purchase of $25 or more. So if you've purchased less than this from my site, then I don't want to actually send you a handwritten card. This lets you get very specific as to who you're targeting. The fourth option says only send a card if the customer belongs to a specific Klaviyo segment ID. So we actually have an integration with Klaviyo that allows you to segment and target specific segments. So if you go into your Klaviyo instance and find the segment ID, you can actually use and leverage the power of Klaviyo and target specific segments with handwritten cards. So basically, if you click this button and then entered your segment ID and your Klaviyo API key from your Klaviyo dashboard, that would enable you to, when somebody makes a purchase on your site, look up and see if that person is in that specified Klaviyo segment, and then only trigger a handwritten card if that person is in that segment. This fifth option down here says delay send date by X number of days. So let's say that somebody makes a purchase on your site and it's going to take you a couple days to actually ship the product out to them. You may not want a handwritten note asking for a review to get there before the product gets there. So what this lets you do is actually set a delay time. So let's say that when somebody makes a purchase on the site, I want to stop and wait 3 days before the handwritten card gets created and sent. So this way my product that I'm shipping out has some time to actually travel to and arrive at its destination. And then finally, the last option we give you of this advanced setting is a webhook endpoint. So by creating a webhook endpoint, what that enables you to do is to have perfectly timed follow-up emails that will go out on a individual customer by customer basis, so that you can create these very intricate follow-up sequences so that somebody will receive a handwritten card in the mail, and then on that same day also receive a follow-up email from you or from your store asking about that handwritten card. We've got more details about how to set up and use webhook endpoints on our website. So if you're interested, hit ignitepost.com, and there's some examples of us using that there. But this is very powerful because it allows you to close the full communication loop. So someone gets a handwritten card in the mail, and then that same day they also get an email from you, and you can have this experience happen at scale. So that's it. So the last thing you want to do is make sure that the term post-purchase flow on is clicked and selected, and then you hit create, and at that point your work is done. You only have to set this up once, and now every single time a purchase is made on your site, this flow will trigger. One thing to note as well, these advanced settings, you don't have to use any of them at all. You can use as many or a few of them as you want. So if I uncheck all of these boxes. Basically, this is going to trigger a card anytime somebody makes a purchase on my site, but it's going to only send a card to each unique customer once. So they're going to get at most one handwritten card from me. So I'm going to leave this like this, and I'm going to hit create. And now what that does is that takes us back to our main screen where we'll be able to see all of the flows that we have set up. And underneath there, we should see, and we do, the post-purchase flow review request that we just set up here. At any point, if you want to dive back in and edit the advanced settings, if you want to change the message that's used, if you wanted to change the image that's on the card, all you need to do is navigate down, find the flow that you're interested in changing, click edit, and that takes you right back in and lets you change anything you want about the flow. If you have any questions, our support team would love to help you out. Don't hesitate to send an email to support@ignitepost.com and we'll make sure to set you up. Thanks so much. Hope you enjoyed this video. Hope it was helpful. But again, if you have questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Thanks. See you next time.